There's a question that keeps popping up as people wonder about whether their happiness is dependent on the people around them, is induced by the people around them, triggered, or the factors that include a happy life have pretty much a lot to do with those individuals that they associate themselves with. Who to include in one's life and who to eliminate, in a sense. And whether, it has to do with one's own choices, the happiness that one feels. Is there such a thing as happiness? What is happiness? That's another question that comes up. Well, I'm going to address it in a way where hopefully it will touch upon all these different areas that I briefly mentioned. Respect is crucial. Respect that we want to get from others, as well as the respect that we must display towards ourselves. Has to be directed at us, by us, induced by us, given to ourselves, the respect. Now, unfortunately, many of us come into this life, add more years onto our lives, while carrying with us, in a sense, the harmful bacteria of toxic dependencies, parasitic interactions, all based on wrong impressions, wrong perceptions, misinformation, misguided direction. So all these things come to pretty much paint a picture for us as to what we have in front of us as far as life goes, and what is it that we can anticipate. So this is basically the tracing paper, or the measure, the yardstick that one invariably ends up living one's life through and with. So we are always inundated by different information coming in. Now, when I said the bacteria of yesterday, parasitic, just like in the gut bacteria that we have, the microbiome that we have in our gut, which dictates whether you're going to have a healthy life or not, what we put in our lives is very important, just like what we put in our bodies in the form of food. Now, unfortunately, because of the lack in understanding, or the presence of the wrong information, which in Buddhism is called avidya, ignorance, we continue to perpetuate the type of existence that seeks to gain happiness from outside sources. So we are like a sponge. We are always on like a bowl, an empty bowl, a vessel that is waiting for the rain to start coming down, for it to fill up. Now, it's almost like panhandling to life. It's almost like begging for these things. And when you are that type of a beggar, already what goes out the door? Your self-respect. You give up. The sense of the inner generation of the sense of goodness within you, which unfortunately many of us are lacking in life. As a therapist or as a teacher for years, I used to struggle to help people see that it's not the actions that we have to commit that make us somehow now deserving of love, of respect. We have to first give that to ourselves, the way we treat ourselves, starting with the way we treat ourselves in our thoughts, the words that we keep telling ourselves to us. So this is a key jumping board or springboard where we need to start first, and that is to reevaluate our relationship with ourselves. How much am I willing to give in or give up to these parasites of yesterday, from my childhood, from my past relationships, what we usually, in our common, vernacular, we might say, the ghosts of yesterday. Whatever term we might give it, ultimately, there needs to be the acknowledgement of the fact as to whether our emotional bucket is full or not. That's one of the best ways that you can actually display, give, radiate to yourself this respect, this sense of love, care, compassion, understanding, this inner sense of, you can call it spiritual altruism, this sense of joy, inner sense of feeling contented. But this is one part. The other part is the world. Remember, some of the questions we're addressing or asking about the relationships with others. And this is, so long as you're living in society or surrounded by even by one, extra person, extra being around you, you need to acknowledge that the nature of that relationship needs to be evaluated constantly, instead of taking it for granted in any way or shape or form. Now, this takes the shape of, again, the first one was, I was addressing it in form of respect directed towards oneself. Because so long as you have not done that, you don't address that on a daily basis. Not that one incident where you gave yourself something, or you said something, or you acknowledged a good deed you've done to yourself, or your virtuous behavior 3 months ago, and you feel good because of that. That's not going to be enough. You need to bring that up or add more similar situations, similar experiences for yourself to augment that state of being, to feel good about yourself, despite what you do, who you're surrounded by, etc. So this is the basis about a part of the very key area of being a human being instead of a human doing. Society has been teaching us to be human doers. Human being is a different breed, is altogether. It doesn't require you to go and get those scores, those grades, those achievements first in order for you to deserve that respect. Just like a child does not need to perform and perform and perform for his or her caretakers to give him or her attention, love, care, not scolding, because he did something good over there. No, the very fact that he exists, she exists, is sufficient for the caretaker to constantly be showering them with attention and love in one way or the other, instead of shutting it from them, in other words, to punish them. So this teaches the child to be self-sustained. This teaches them how to have that sense of adequacy, to develop the tolerance for mattering. This is a term that about 25 years ago I was discussing with a fellow therapist, and just came to mind. Develop the tolerance for mattering, I said. It stuck with me. I was like, yeah, this is what I've been trying to understand, and because, yeah, the ghosts of yesterday are always going to be with us, so long as we don't acknowledge what is it that I'm working with or through. So your view as to who you have in your life, who you've invited into your life as friends, as even family, by the way, colleagues, etc., has a lot to do with how much you tolerate them. Especially in the case of them being not the individuals that give you that quality of attention that you deserve as a person, as a being. Not because you're doing something for them. This is key. So first, you have that sense of respect and love for yourself. Appreciation is another word for it you could use. Then you look to the world around you. So if this was a circle that you just drew and you're in the center, now we are looking outside that circumference of that circle and looking at the other constituent parts that make you part of a bigger whole. We call an ecosystem the biosphere of basically your life, your social status or ecosystem. Now, how do you distinguish between who to keep? Because I want to address that part as well. And who not to. In other words, crudely perhaps stated, who to eliminate from your life. You know, it's like weeds. If you've ever planted a garden, if you have gardenias, jasmines, if you have different flowers, different things, if you have an herb garden, you know, different types of oregano, you know, rosemary, etc., you're going to have sooner or later some weeds, some things, some other plants that are going to come and intrude into that space. So what do? You just keep them? You just allow things to be? It's going to be a chaos, a chaotic affair. You can't have that. You have to trim, you have to clean up, you have to make that space clean. That's the same reason why we have to sweep the floors and clean up the space where we live. Because it's affecting us. It's hygiene, yes, it's cleanliness. So similarly, you need to take inventory of a few factors that are happening. So over time, I've developed this very simple technique where you ask yourself these three questions pertaining to the individuals around you. Okay? Now again, this could be people that you've grown up with. It could be members of your own family. including your parents, or colleagues, neighbors, friends, etc. Despite the memory or series of memories associated with these individuals, you need to ask these questions, and you have to ask them, and you need to respond to them based on the facts, not how you've emotionally felt merely, but based on facts, evidence basically. What do I mean by this? The first question could be this. This person, or these people, when was the last time they actually said, "I'm sorry," genuinely? Second, when was the last time that they celebrated me, congratulated me, celebrated me for who I am, what I have done, or the kind of person I am in their life, or in life in general, what they've observed? Do they go out of their way to just say, "You know what, I really appreciate you"? So there's a showing of appreciation as to who you are. So in a sense, they are celebrating your presence in life and in their life. Is there such a thing that you've seen in these people? So do they celebrate your achievements? Do they celebrate the challenges that you've overcome, etc.? And the third question is, when was the last time that they said to you, "Thank you"? Thank you. Genuinely. Same thing, genuinely saying, "I'm sorry." When was the last time that they've said that? Are these the kind of people that will say these things to you, show you this? As you can tell, it's very, in a sense, it's a these, you can call it triune, three things into one, demonstrator of respect from these people, from this person. Again, this could also be in a work environment, a boss, a mate, your own spouse, your own partner in life. Put all the superficial things aside. Pull all the other things that you tell yourself. Because remember, many of us carry with us this toxic, metaphoric, bacterial environment. Emotional bacteria, you can call it, maybe. These toxic ways of thinking and feeling and interpreting life. Again, the filter with which we were raised to see and look at life oftentimes tells us to neglect asking these three questions. This is where we have toxic relationships that are everywhere, in every avenue of life. Every single person has come across, or they themselves were, the toxic element in somebody else's life. So this is really prevalent everywhere. So honesty is required in sitting down with yourself, heedfully looking at the fact as to whether this person, these individuals, again, despite who these individuals are, what they might mean to you, emotionally, financially, whatever, socially, etc., etc. It doesn't matter. Ultimately, you're sitting down with yourself and asking, when was the last time this person, or has this person ever said, "I'm sorry"? Has this person ever celebrated me? Has this person ever said, "Thank you"? Now, chances are, if one of them is missing, the other two are as well. That's why I mentioned they're triune. They come together. So if there's not one, the rest aren't there. And if genuinely there is one of these, in the character of the person, that particular person that you're thinking about, chances are the other two are there somewhere. This, I wish somebody had told me decades ago. This is after decades of being myself in toxic relationships, where you allow yourself to be overrun and taken advantage of, brutally treated, not just by friends, close people, etc. So this is unfortunately a normal phenomenon, which we can, of course, do something about. And this is addressing that other part of the question. Can we be happy? Absolutely. Absolutely. This is you taking the reins of your life. This is you're getting in the driver's seat of your life. You're taking control as to who to include and who to exclude from your life, who to eliminate from your life. Now remember, most people don't have this information, because most of us are being run by toxic emotions. Why? Because remember that term I used, avidya, ignorance? Going on the wrong information, being told in one way or the other of the wrong way of living one's life, of including and bringing in people into your life, and the methods with which you're doing that. People are trying to buy other people's attention, constantly. Hey, look at me, I'm doing this. Look at me, I look like this. Look at me, I have this status. Look at me, I don't know, something about me I need you to come and appreciate. We're beggars. And in doing so, we are showing the greatest disrespect towards ourselves. So, to first feel that love and appreciation for yourself is key, is crucial. This has nothing to do with narcissism. When you start to appreciate, therefore love yourself properly, in the correct manner, meaning there's only one way. It's either love or it is at the cost of others, which is narcissism. That's not love. But when you do experience this, give yourself this space, this time, this sense of appreciation, which, by the way, means that you've asked yourself those 3 questions on a daily basis. There's nothing wrong with you saying, I'm sorry to yourself. You have to try that medicine before you give it to others, or expect others to take it. Hey, when was the last time you celebrated yourself? When was the last time you said thank you to yourself? After a long day's, chores and things, and treating yourself, for this, to do this, and demanding these things from yourself. When was the last time you said, I appreciate you. Thank you, my legs, thank you for carrying me all this way, this and that. So it starts internally, and then it blooms, blossoms, and opens up outwardly to the world. And even if you don't have around you that many people, it really doesn't matter, because the love is self-sustaining at that point. And sooner or later you will come across individuals, because there are individuals who are looking for the same things. There's a harmony between 2 loving hearts. They will find each other in the cosmos. It's the secret underlying melody of existence, you can call it. Without sounding too poetic, but that's how the nature actually functions. The trees, the winds, the seasons, the waves of the ocean, all these things So approach your relationships with those simple 3 questions. Is this person sitting in front of me willing, and at the very least, when I do bring this up to them, hey, you've done this to me. I don't understand why you haven't apologized for that. Something like that. What are the reasons why you think that you don't owe me an apology for this? There's nothing wrong with this. If they have truly done something, and if it needs clarification, then the person will say, well, because this, are you aware of these other things that were happening? But if they are truly authentic person, they will say, well, I'm sorry. Not the sneaky, modern 20th century, 21st century type of I'm sorry. Well, I'm sorry you feel this way. No, I don't need that. You can take that and, leave with it. I don't have time for that at all. That's classic lip service. No, the person has to pause and say, I am truly sorry that I hurt you, for example. Instead of, I am sorry that you feel this way. There's no apology there, by the way. It's even more like you're pouring oil onto a fire, blazing fire. Or squeezing a acidic, very sour lemon upon an open, gushing wound. Painful. Don't do that. Don't do that, please. It hurts the person even more. So has this person said, I'm sorry to you? If not, okay. You can move on to the next question. And when was the last time this person celebrated you? Without you asking for it, by the way. The very fact that you're asking these questions to them already is not a good sign. So ideally, these questions should first be asked of you, yes, but also in relation to others. Has this person, especially when you have doubts, and the doubts occur when you walk away from an interaction and you're feeling a little bit like something is not right about this. Are you begging for their relationship, for their attention? Do you feel less than? Okay? So a practical method would be applying these questions. And the last question was, when was the last time this person, without any convincing necessary, for this person to go out of their way and say, thank you for this. Without you having to point the finger and asking them, hey, or demanding them, hey, when was the last time how come you never thanked me for this? That's also ugly. It should never get to that. But sometimes people are dull, they're thick-headed, they need that, shake up. I get it. Maybe you need to ask. But then you have to see how often you have to do that. It shouldn't take you to do it more than once. Otherwise, there's a pattern there. That person does not respect you. So any responses to these 3 questions in the negative already indicates that the person doesn't respect you. Now again, the problem lies in the fact that we allow ourselves to be disrespected on a daily basis. That's the problem. A lingering question might be, well, why do we do this? Well, because of the fear of being alone. Being left alone. Not having anyone. Well, how do you know not having anyone? Because we've been stuck with the same people, the same toxic individuals that have been treating us this way. We've never given a chance to other possibilities, potential good people out there waiting for us who are more than willing, if they get a chance to know us a little bit, just a little bit. And they will be displaying those 3 qualities in the affirmative. That's called appreciation. That's called respect. So I encourage you to look at it in that fashion, in that way. And absolutely you have control over your life and the happiness in it, the quality of it.